Hello, everyone. Now, I know that it's hard to keep up on top of what's going on in the Holy Land, but if you want to know more about what's happening here in Israel, I'm Aaron Porras, and this is the Weekly Review.
Incoming Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is one step closer to his new government, as the Likud and United Torah Judaism signed their final coalition agreement Wednesday morning. The deal ended days of discord between the party's two ultra-Orthodox factions and paves the way for a vote on the new government on Thursday morning. The religious Zionist party, Shas, Otzma Yehudit, and Noam also following suit Wednesday. After the signing of the coalition deals, Netanyahu said that his party will establish a stable government for a full term for all the citizens of Israel. Netanyahu also outlined key policy goals for his new government, stating that the Jewish people have an exclusive and unquestionable right to all areas of the land of Israel. He said the government will promote and develop settlement in all parts of the country, including the Galilee, the Negev, the Golan, and in Judea and Samaria. The incoming prime minister said the government will also work to promote the quality of the environment in Israel, including participating and contributing in the global effort on climate issues, and vowed the government will work to strengthen the security forces. Netanyahu also said his government would tackle the high cost of living, transportation reforms, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, as well as reforms in education. In the meantime, Netanyahu also announcing on Wednesday that Amir Ohana will serve as the next Speaker of the Knesset, as Yariv Levin resigned from the post to take on the role of Justice Minister, while Ophir Katz was appointed to the role of Coalition Chairman. And on Tuesday evening, he appointed former Likud member of Knesset Tzachi Hanegbi to serve as the head of the National Security Council. The incoming prime minister spent most of Wednesday handing out key portfolios, such as the Foreign Ministry and Education Ministry, to his Likud party members. And nearly 1 month after the double Jerusalem bus bombing attacks that killed 2 Israelis, the Shin Bet security agency on Tuesday revealed details of the attack. According to the security agency, 6 days after the bombings, its operatives arrested Aslam Farouk, a 26-year-old ISIS supporter from East Jerusalem, who recently completed his engineering studies. The investigation revealed that he arrived by motorcycle to the bus stop at the entrance to Jerusalem, where he planted the first bomb, and then drove to the second site, the Ramot intersection, where he planted another device. He detonated both bombs by cell phone. 2 Israelis, 16-year-old Aryeh Chechupak and Ethiopian immigrant Tadassa Tasumi Ben Maada, were killed in the deadly attack. This comes 1 day after security forces announced the bust of a massive terrorist bomb plot planned for Israel. A number of terrorist operatives were arrested shortly before the attack. ILTV's Steve Leibovitz reports.
It could have been a mass terror incident planned for December 14th. The bomb plot was foiled by the Shin Bet Security Service, which today announced it had arrested a number of suspects involved in the plot in the West Bank and uncovered others in the Gaza Strip. Suspects have been questioned for the past 2 weeks. The bomb that the terrorists built was ready for use, but was seized by security officials before it could be detonated. The suspects were members of the Fatah-affiliated Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade with planning assistance from Hamas terrorist operatives in Gaza. The bomb is similar to that which exploded last month in Jerusalem, killing 2 people. Leading terrorists named in the plot include Gaza explosives expert Ahmed Hajjaj. In the West Bank, security officials arrested several key suspects in Tulkarem and Kabatia. The Shin Bet said that it holds Hamas in Gaza responsible for planning the attack by directing the West Bank operatives. Prime Minister Yair Lapid praised the security operation, saying, "The war against terrorism and terrorist infrastructure continues every day on every front. The security forces will continue to act at all times to cut off all attempts to harm us."
And moving on, the Gulf state of Oman moved a step closer to expanding its boycott of Israel this week. According to the Omani Waf news agency, the country's current law is being amended to include a boycott of all sports, culture, and economic contacts with Israel. It also seeks to ban in-person or online interaction with Israelis. To date, the law bans interaction with the, quote, Zionist entity for private and public figures. The measure passed in the Omani Shura Council and will move to a debate before a final vote. Oman and Israel have no official diplomatic relations, though the 2 countries did have unofficial trade relations. and Israel has hoped to expand its peace agreement with the country under the Abraham Accords. In 2018, then Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu even flew to Oman for an unannounced meeting at the invitation of the now deceased Omani Sultan Qaboos bin Said. Though so far, Omani leaders have balked at calls to join the Abraham Accords with Israel, after the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan have done so. Oman is even opposed to Israeli planes flying over its airspace. Earlier this year, Saudi Arabia agreed to allow Israeli to use its airspace, but Oman continues to refuse, forcing Israeli flights to Asia to use a much longer route. Officials in Oman insist it will change its policy only after the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been resolved.
Rabbi Druckman, the spiritual leader of political religious Zionism, has died at age 90. Rabbi Druckman was a founder of the Gush Emunim settlement movement and a major political influencer. He created the movement, which means the block of the believers. Druckman was laid to rest this afternoon in the southern community of Masoot Yitzchak. Rabbi Druckman was a protege of pre-state nationalist Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda Kook. A winner of the Israel Prize, he was a leading educator, creating a network of seminaries and yeshivot which combined religious study with military service. Over the years, Druckman was known for relatively liberal views on conversion to Judaism. He was best known for his hardline pro-settlement stance, including calling for religious soldiers to refuse orders to evict settlements. Earlier this month, Druckman became ill with COVID-19 for the second time. He was hospitalized and died at Hadassah Hospital in Ein Kerem. Druckman was quickly eulogized by the country's leading politicians and public figures. Referring to Druckman's death in biblical terms, religious Zionism leader Bezalel Smotrich quoted Lamentation saying, "We have become orphans." President Isaac Herzog said, "The Torah of Israel, the people of Israel, and the land of Israel were his focus, hour after hour, day after day." Rabbi Druckman dedicated his life for the state of Israel and the Jewish people.
A fire erupted on the 4th floor of the Beersheva Soroka Medical Center wing, housing dozens of patients who were evacuated by firefighters. Multiple firefighting teams arrived on the scene and quickly extinguished the blaze. Those rescued included patients who were confined to their hospital beds and attached to oxygen tents. The fire was first discovered by a hospital employee who smelled smoke and heard patients calling for help at just after 3 in the morning. The hospital worker said he saw a man on fire in his bed. He turned on a water faucet and called for a fire extinguisher to put out the fire, which had engulfed his body. When emergency services arrived, the man was found in his bed without signs of life. 2 other patients suffered from smoke inhalation and are in moderate condition. The fire service set up an investigative team to probe the incident, and while details are still unclear, it's suspected that the fire was caused by a lit cigarette next to an oxygen tank which caught ablaze.
Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan received the credentials of Israel's new ambassador to the country on Tuesday afternoon, and yet another turning point in the normalization of ties between the two countries after a years-long deterioration in relations. Irit Lilian, who has been Israeli charge d'affaires in Ankara since January 2021, officially became Israeli ambassador to Turkey after presenting her letter of confidence to President Erdogan. Relations between Israel and Turkey have been strained for more than a decade, with Ankara expelling Israel's ambassador following the 2010 Mavi Marmara incident, which saw an Israeli raid on a Gaza flotilla which killed 10 Turkish citizens who attacked Israeli security services. Diplomatic relations were briefly restored in 2016, but 2 years later, Turkey once again recalled its ambassador from Israel and expelled the Israeli envoy over clashes between Israel and the Gaza Strip. This year, Israel has made the effort to improve relations as Israeli President Isaac Herzog visited Ankara and the two countries agreed to restore their ambassadors. Now, Lilian will have to work to restore and strengthen relations with what was once Israel's close ally.
On the subject of immigration to Israel, we are pleased to be joined by Yael Eckstein, President and CEO of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, which played a crucial role in migration of immigrants and refugees to Israel. Hi, Yael, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Now, over 70,000 migrants to Israel in 2022, with most from Russia and Ukraine. What were some of the challenges?
Well, in 2022, the fellowship brought over 5,000 new immigrants just from Ukraine to Israel, and that's compared to 1,834 that we brought in 2021. So, of course, whenever you double the number of people that you're going to bring to Israel, especially under war conditions, there are lots of challenges. The challenges started when the war began, and all of the immigrants that we brought to Israel were through Moldova, and the airspace in Moldova was closed, the airport was closed, and so we worked with our partners in order to get special humanitarian permission to fly refugee flights from Israel packed with humanitarian aid, 15 tons of blankets and boots and clothing and food for the refugees from Ukraine. From Israel, chartered a flight to Moldova, where all of the airport workers went in just to receive this flight, let off the 15 tons of humanitarian aid, and flew back to Israel with over 140 olim. We did this twice a day.
And how is Israel handling all of this? I mean, is it even ready for such numbers?
Well, it's incredible how the government of Israel has really taken so many measures. First of all, to recognize these refugees as refugees, which means they immediately get more aid than any other set of olim from around the world. Normally, what the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews sees on the ground inside of Ukraine, we've been working there for many years, is that people plan between 6 months to 1 year before their aliyah, and they take lots of steps in order to learn Hebrew and do seminars and job training. And of course, when the war broke out, these were refugees who left very often the pot on the stove in order to escape with their lives, leaving their husbands behind, their grown children behind. They came to Israel with nothing. And so just recognizing them as refugees, that they could get that extra aid is a huge step. And the position of the fellowship is that we are here for any additional emergency needs that they have. So we ran summer camps for children where we taught them Hebrew, got them ready to acclimate to school when they were returning after the summer break. Everything that we could do to add to what the government of Israel is already doing, we're here to help.
And are you expecting that 2023 will be another year of mass immigration, or if the war comes to an end, might we see a portion of these refugees actually return to their previous homes?
That's a wonderful question. Actually, the board of director of the fellowship was just in Ukraine 2 weeks ago, and what he said was he saw so many people already returning back to their homes that it's already been almost a year of this fighting, and they want their children to go back to school in the place that they're used to and the language that they're used to. They want to rejoin their husbands and sons who are left behind. And so we're definitely seeing less of an aliyah from Ukraine, but we're definitely still seeing lots of people make aliyah, more than in previous years. And so just last Thursday, I actually greeted a flight of over 104 olim, 8 of them lying down, medical cases who came and immediately got medical care in Israel. So we're continuously, the fellowship, of course, with our partners at the Jewish Agency, are every single day bringing olim from Ukraine to Israel. It has slowed down. Will it pick up again? We're prepared for anything.
Yeah, and I understand that you will be traveling to Moldova tomorrow. What are the expectations there?
Well, the winter conditions are brutal. And so the fellowship has been on the ground across the former Soviet Union, especially with winter emergency aid. This year, it's specifically generators, but we're also bringing blankets, gloves, military gear for these elderly and children in order to survive the winter. So we're bringing water as the electricity is out in much of Ukraine. The water system is connected to the electric system. And so there's no running water, there's no heat, you can't warm up any food. And it's something we don't think about often, that when the electricity is down, people who have money can't even go to the store and use their credit card because there's no electricity. And so we're both helping people inside of Moldova who have also experienced lots of power outages, along with those refugees from Ukraine who have made it to Moldova. So I'm going in order to assess the situation, provide aid, and come up with our strategic plan for 2023 to save lives.
That's amazing. And Yael, I have to mention your father, Rabbi Eckstein of blessed memory. He did amazing work bringing immigrants to Israel for decades. How is it to follow in the footsteps of such a great man?
Well, for 15 years, I studied his every move. And when he died 3 years ago, it's almost actually 4 years ago, I was put in the position that I felt like he gave me the tools that I needed to continue the life-saving work that he dreamed about, that he built and he brought to fruition. And today, thank God, the fellowship is stronger than ever. We have over 650,000 donors. We raise almost $250 million a year. And last year in 2022 alone, we helped over 2 million individuals. So I am honored, humbled, and really blessed to be able to continue his mission.
Yeah, Eckstein, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The Jewish National Fund USA has established the Richard and Nancy Simchis Arava Emergency Response Center, a project aligned with the organization's Blueprint Negev initiative to revitalize southern Israel. The new state-of-the-art center will serve as a central command station to provide travelers and residents in this remote desert region the essential emergency assistance they need.
So the building we're standing now, the Emergency Response Center here in Sapir, was built by the Jewish National Fund USA, and we are sitting here, the rescue team, the firefighters, the police, MADA, the emergency rescue forces, and we are all sitting here together. Our offices are here, the command center, the Joint Command Center is sitting here, and of course it's a very modern building who facilitate all the teams and all the emergency teams.
This is the first center of its kind in the country, combining all emergency services under one roof, and is the culmination of JNF USA's support for this region.
In the last few years, we had a lot of support coming from the Jewish National Fund USA. We got a lot of equipment. We got new trucks, pickup trucks, vehicles, so we can go into the desert, we can drive safely. Of course, these cars are equipped with all the rescue equipment that we need, medical equipment, radios, flashlights, all the things that we need in order to perform our duties as volunteers.
Israel's Arava region is a popular destination for travelers, but it also holds many dangers.
Well, traveling or hiking in the Arava, people tend to forget that we are in the desert, and once they come here, sometimes during even winter, they come from Jerusalem or from Tel Aviv, which the weather can be very nice and cool up there. And once they come into the desert, it may be even in the winter, of course, and during summertime it could be very, very hot. So people forget to bring hats and to bring enough water while traveling. That's maybe the most dangerous thing.
We're here today at the Israel Innovation Authority event, Innovation on the Bar. And tonight we're going to hear from Yariv Bash, CEO and co-founder of Flytrex. Let's go inside and take a look.
Flytrex is a global delivery service for food in the US. We're currently the largest home delivery service, doing thousands of deliveries every month, 5 stations. It's just like DoorDash in the US or here in Israel. You make an order and we deliver you a hamburger and pizza.
An enthusiastic audience listened on as Bash, the former co-founder and CEO of SpaceIL responsible for the Bereshit moon mission, discussed Israeli innovation and the field of drones.
Been a pie in the sky for more than a decade now. It's taking time because we have to make sure that it's an extremely safe service. The technology has always been with us for more than 2 years, but now the regulators are keeping up with the technology, and it's been quite a ride so far.
And in looking to the future, Bash said he envisions a world in which drones will become a common fixture in the sky. In fact, the Israel Innovation Authority has invested significantly and supported numerous drone companies in making this dream a reality.
The Israel Innovation Authority is actually the biggest seed investor in Israel, investing in cutting-edge technology, and we invest financially, especially in fields of market failure.
The authority recently launched the second phase of the National Drone Initiative, bringing together all relevant actors from the public and private sectors to enable multiple drone technologies in tandem across Israel's skies, and making Israel an international leader in this field.
It gives the regulator for the first time the opportunity to do an adaptive regulation throughout the project. So actually, if we speak about the Israeli Civil Aviation Authority, so from a point where at the beginning of the initiative, we had very little regulation in this field. Today, after 2 years and more than 20,000 flights, they adapted the regulation, and from a point where they were behind or as good as other regulators. They are one of the most advanced regulators in this field in the world.
According to reports worldwide, our most famous Israeli representative abroad, actress Gadot, will be returning to the cast of Fast and Furious 10 movie to play Giselle, a character who actually died in a previous film in the series Fast and Furious 6. These days, Gadot is visiting Israel on a family vacation with her husband and 3 daughters, being spotted walking around Tel Aviv over the weekend. Recently, U.S. media reporting that the new head of the DC company, James Gunn and Peter Safran, decided to stop the production of the third Wonder Woman film, making Gadot tweet an unusual message to her fans, sharing that she can't wait to share the next chapter in her career with them. Gadot seemingly will not be participating in the future DC projects and may no longer be the heroine. Gal Gadot, along with her co-stars Batman and Superman, or Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, meeting on Zoom this week discussing the possibility of suing Warner Bros. Studios, alleging breach of contract damaging their future careers following the decision to shelving their superhero characters as part of the changes being made in the studios recently. Archbishop Pier Battista Pizzaballa, Jerusalem's Latin Patriarch, arriving in Bethlehem, the traditional place of Jesus' birth, on Saturday for leading the annual Christmas celebrations. Pier Battista Pizzaballa greeting worshippers upon his arrival to the town ahead of leading the annual Christmas Eve procession at the Church of Nativity.
The message of Christmas is a message of peace, and we won't keep believing that it is possible to change things. And anyway, we'll be vigilant and we'll be very clear in what we have to do and what we have to say in order to preserve the importance of unity and reconciliation among all.
As Bethlehem is recovering from the coronavirus outbreak, hundreds of tourists flocking to the historic birthplace of Jesus, celebrating the holiday and resulting in fully booked hotels and satisfied shopkeepers. These numbers still not reaching pre-COVID levels, though, with Bethlehem counting 3.5 million visitors in Christmas 2019, but the return of tourists definitely raising spirits in the city. For Christmas Eve festivities, hundreds of people wandering around Manger Square throughout the day, while marching bands playing bagpipes and beating on drums, with foreign tourists strolling the streets and taking photographs with the town's massive Christmas tree in the background. With many people entering stores and restaurants to warm up, the chilly gray skies and the occasional rain showers doing very little to dampen enthusiasm, making everyone hope for an even bigger celebration next Christmas.
And that's it for ILTV's Weekly Review. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next week.